It's after Christmas!
Ain't gotta spend the time, it's free. No, it's gonna be a wild night. Let's go. Doors open, you don't need a key. Show you how to live the wild life. Let's see the bottom, AM. Let's hit the throttle. Oh my God, yeah, hands going up. Let's hit the dance floor again.
Wild like.
Hello, welcome to The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and today I'm going to review a thing. Now, before I go on with any sort of discussion whatsoever, yes, I am wearing 3 shirts. You may think I'm only wearing 2. I'm actually wearing 3. Mostly for these following reasons. The Doctor Who shirt is intentional for me to wear because I'm talking about Doctor Who. The long shirt is because I'm just very cold. It's winter. It's like 11 degrees tonight. So it's a bit cold in this basement, so I'm wearing it for warmth. The third shirt because it's also to help with the cold. It's very chilly in this basement. I couldn't just wear this t-shirt. I'd freeze to death. Anyway, remember when I talked about a little show called Class? It was one of the Doctor Who spin-offs that I discussed earlier in the season, back in October. If you'd like to check out that video, click the link in the description. I said I'd be giving a full review of Doctor Who in its entirety after Christmas, after the Good, the Bad, and the Just Plain Okay video of 2017. Not just because of scheduling. I know last video I told you I have like a schedule of stuff that I wanted to touch upon in January. It's not only just because of that, it's because if you follow Doctor Who as well, you'll most likely know the big thing that happened at Christmas this year. And it's because of what went on at Christmas why I'm deciding to talk about it after Christmas. For those who really don't know why the Christmas special is a big thing, I'm going to get to all that, but let's just get down to basics. Doctor Who is probably one of the best sci-fi shows on television, and if you disagree, well, that's okay because it's your opinion, but I seem to like it, and I'm kind of a Doctor Who nerd, even though I don't exactly consider myself a Whovian, because I really don't know much about the classic series, but I'm slowly starting to learn about it, and I'm mostly a fan of the new series. I like Doctor Who. I think it's pretty cool. To expand a bit more on what I talked about in class, Doctor Who is a British sci-fi drama show that's also one of the longest running sci-fi shows in the world. Right now at 54 years, and this year it'll actually be 55 years. That's a lot of years! I wasn't even born for half of them. It's a show about a mysterious alien named the Doctor. He has a real name, but he decides to go by the name of the Doctor, as his intentions are to help people and care to them when they need desperate help. He travels around in space and all of time's history in a magical ship known as the TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space. The TARDIS is able to travel anywhere and everywhere, except parallel worlds. It's kind of off limit there. It's off limit. It's blocked by the void. Every episode of the show is basically different. One episode he can be in the future, another episode he could be in another planet in another galaxy, another episode he can be in the past, one day he could be in present-day London. He has a really weird obsession with London. He always seems to go straight to London, which I don't question most of the time because it is a show broadcasted by the BBC, which is in London. So the Doctor doesn't travel alone, though. He brings along some friends of his, which are known as companions, and together they travel around space and time, going to different places and saving people from aliens and monsters. I should point out that most of the companions of the show are female. A lot of females in this magical box of his. There are sometimes males, but very often is it males. There's more females than males. He gets all the girls. I should point out some things about his TARDIS. First off, it's bigger on the inside, and the reasoning for that is because when you walk through it, it's basically like walking into a different dimension. The second thing you'll most likely notice about this TARDIS is it's in the shape of a 1960s police phone box. It's not supposed to look like this. TARDISes have what's known as a chameleon circuit, which gives it the ability to blend in with its surroundings. However, on a trip to 1963 London, which is actually where the show picks up in 1963, it gets stuck on a police box setting, and he just hasn't been able to fix it ever since. The amount of cast members in this show is absolutely ridiculous to go through, as there have been too many people in the show. But I'll cut it short with the characters. There is the Doctor, his companion, either 1, 2, or 3 of them. The limit is usually 3. It's very rare it's ever more than that. Whatever sub-characters are in that episode, and then the villain. There are a lot of villains, but not as much as companion-wise. You have villains such as the Daleks, which is one of the Doctor's most longest-running enemies ever since the show started. To kind of sum them up, they're robots that don't have any emotions and have the determination to just take over things. They're from another planet known as Skaro, and I guess to summarize them even better than how I just summarized them, just picture like a bratty toddler wanting everything. It's like, you'll listen to me, you'll do what I say, or else, something like that. Then you have villains such as the Cybermen, who are emotionless robots that convert humans into them. There are the Weeping Angels, which at first look just look like ordinary angel statues, but if you look away from them, you'll realize that they'll slowly start getting closer to you. The main object of those characters are you need to keep an eye on them, because if they touch you, they will send you back into time. Unlike any other alien in this show where it tries to kill you there and there, these aliens are very nice when it comes to killing you, because they just send you back in time and let you live to death. That's it. If there is one alien race in this show that I'd want to die from, it'd be them, because they are the harmless. Sure, I'd be leaving everything behind, I can't go back, but I'd rather live to death than actually die right then and there. The last recurring enemy, which seems to be one of the most famous ones along with the Daleks, is an enemy known as the Master, who is another Time Lord like the Doctor, and was actually best friends with the Doctor at some point when they were together as young children on their planet Gallifrey. But while the Doctor felt the need to help people, travel the universe, and save lives, the Master wants to destroy. He thirsts for blood and destruction and evil, and it's basically the polar opposite of the Doctor. The show ran from 1963 all the way to 1989 and was unfortunately canceled due to low ratings and people losing interest in the show at that time. It was a bit unfortunate. At that time there were 7 Doctors. I should mention that the reason why the show has been running for so long is because of the plot of regeneration, which is a biological process a Time Lord can go through when they die or are brutally injured. All their cells basically get rearranged and they change their form into a new person. Time Lords have 13 lives and are able to be reborn, but in a new body with a slight alteration of personality and taste in things. That's why every Doctor is different. One could be funny, one could be rude, one could be sassy, and so on. At this time there were only 7 Doctors. They attempted to bring it back in 1996 with the 8th Doctor, played by Paul McGann, and this pilot was very unique because now we call it Doctor Who the movie, but back then it was actually considered a TV pilot for an American audience. It did very well in the UK, but it didn't do very well in America. Americans just didn't like it at that time, so it wasn't picked up for a series. But then it was brought back in 2005, and it's been going ever since, and it's probably one of television's most greatest shows ever. Before the end of 2017, there were 12 different incarnations of the Doctor. Technically, there were 13 incarnations of him. There's one incarnation between the 8th and 9th Doctor, known as the War Doctor. Between that big gap of 1996 and 2005, when the show came back in 2005, Russell T Davies, who was the showrunner at that time, added in a backstory plot to what the Doctor's been doing in between that gap from the movie till the revival of the series. Supposedly there was a war between the Time Lords and Daleks known as the Last Great Time War, and in the end, nobody won. Time Lords and Daleks, they all ended up dying, or at least all the Time Lords did. The Daleks eventually slowly regained their ability to live and reproduce and take over. It wasn't stated at first, but over the course of Russell's time on the show, being in charge of the show, we soon found out that the Doctor was the reason why the war ended, and we assumed that Christopher Eccleston, who played the 9th Doctor, was the reasoning behind the end of the Last Great Time War, but it wasn't until the 50th anniversary when we learned there was a completely new incarnation that we never knew about, played by the late John Hurt, who unfortunately passed away early last year. He played the incarnation known as the War Doctor. He doesn't exactly take a number, so this way the numbering doesn't get off. Instead, we call him the War Doctor, because he was the doctor that fought in the Time War. Though, also in that special, we learned that Time Lords and Gallifrey weren't exactly destroyed, but rather put into a pocket universe, and that's basically where they are now in the show, and now the Doctor's just basically trying to find them. But I think he already found them, because there was an episode where he was on Gallifrey. I'll be honest, some Doctor Who stuff kind of confuses me a bit. But I like the show. I get into the show. I'm a fan. The 12th incarnation of the Doctor was played by Peter Capaldi, who recently just left the show. This Christmas special, Twice Upon a Christmas. I'm editing this at the moment, and I'm just bashing my head because I keep calling it Twice Upon a Christmas. It's called Twice Upon a Time. I recorded this scene like 8 times saying Twice Upon a Christmas. That's not what it's called. It's called Twice Upon a Time. Was his last episode. And this is the main reason why I wanted to talk about this show after Christmas, because Capaldi's last episode wasn't just the end of his time on the show. It wasn't just the end on Pearl Mackie and Matt Lucas's time on the show, who played his companions. It was the end of a really big era. Stephen Moffat, who ran the show from 2010 all the way to 2017, also left the show. And in a way, the show is doing what it did when it came back in 2010 by getting rid of the old and bringing in the new, which is the main reason why I got into Doctor Who. David Tennant's last episode, The End of Time, was the last episode for him, the last episode of all of his companions, and the last episode of Russell T Davies. When Doctor Who came back in 2010, it had Matt Smith as the Doctor, followed by Karen Gillan, who was his companion, Amy Pond, and Stephen Moffat as head writer. It was basically a new show, and that's what I really liked about the show. That's why I got into the show. Just the fact that in one episode it could be one show, and the next episode it could feel like a totally new show. That's what I found really interesting about the show, and it's one of the reasons why it's gone for so long, because every episode feels so different, and with the new characters that it has, and the people that are the lead actors in the show, it's like you're watching a totally new show, and I enjoy that very much. It's not just like the basic, oh, well, here are your characters, they're going to do the same thing in the last episode. Well, with this show, anything can happen. You don't know what's going to happen in the next following seasons. The cast could be totally different from how it was in the previous season. So Capaldi's last episode was this past Christmas special, and it was very sad. And if I could summarize Capaldi's time in Doctor Who, I would say he did an absolute amazing job. His acting was beautifully done. The episodes were absolutely amazing. And I genuinely believe that he was this alien character. I said it when I talked about Regeneration, but every Doctor is different. And it's really the actors who play this character that bring something different to this role. I think he was the most alien out of all of them. Just the way that he did his performance was, you know, it said alien. Some of his episodes that I would probably consider some of his best, an episode called The Zygon Inversion, where he gave this really big speech about war, and he even included some aspects of the Time War, how he fought in it, and it like traumatized him. That's also something about Doctor Who. They give like these amazing speeches that like deserve awards. Like these writers deserve like Oscars or something, just by the writing. The Caretaker, which was the 6th episode, is a very funny, goofy episode. I really found that entertaining. I think, though, his best episode, you could say his last episode was probably his best episode, but to me, I think his best episode was Heaven Sent, which was the 11th episode of Season 9, mostly because it is the only Doctor Who story to ever really feature the Doctor alone. I mean, there were other characters in the episode, like there was the main villain called the Veil. His companion, Clara Oswald, played by Jenna Coleman at the time, made a quick cameo in it, and there was a kid who also made a quick cameo, but it was mostly just him. He did all the speaking, he did all the action in it, and that's by far one of his best episodes, and I think that episode definitely defined him as being the Doctor. His last episode was definitely one of his best. There really wasn't an episode that I didn't like about his. I thought all of his were really good, but Twice Upon a Time was a very good exit for him. I personally think The Doctor Falls which was the season 10 finale, was a better ending to him. But I mean, I'm glad we got Twice Upon a Time, because it not only saw the first Doctor come back and go on an adventure with the 12th Doctor, which is something really fun. A multi-Doctor episode is always a fun episode for everybody to watch. But I really enjoyed Capaldi's last speech in the episode. He was basically giving advice to his next incarnation, and I just think he's an absolute great actor in the role. I know I really haven't done much reviewing in this episode. I've just been talking about the show itself, what it's about, everything that's involved with it, but I think you can kind of get the gist of it now that I absolutely adore this show. I think it's one of the best shows on television. I'm rooting for it to make it to 100 years. I think we all are. We're at 54 right now. It's going to be 55 in November. But it is probably one of television's most best shows that has ever been put out. And just by the fact that everything can be so new about it. The fact that you can have a show and then like squeeze it like a sponge and refresh everything and introduce it to a new audience while still keeping in mind that all these other things happened in previous seasons, that's absolutely amazing. The fact that you could change the actor in the most simplest way and not have any problems, that's amazing as well. I just think it's probably one of the best things on television ever, and I am a huge fan of it, if I haven't made that very clear. David Tennant's my favorite, though. I should probably mention that. David Tennant was my first. You always remember your first. Am I right, ladies? Now, before I end the episode, I would like to talk about something. The last thing I want to talk about Doctor Who in this episode, and then I'm going to end it because my voice is going. Because the Christmas special was Capaldi's last episode, obviously Doctor Who has not been cancelled. It's coming back for a season 11, and I believe autumn of this year, so later this year it's going to premiere. Capaldi's gone from the role, and now it's time to have a new Doctor. We're going to have the 13th Doctor this year. Technically the 14th, but 13 when we're talking about numbers and lead roles. And this one's going to be very interesting because it's going to be the first time the Doctor is ever portrayed by a female. Last summer we were introduced to the new actor, or in this case actress, who will be playing the role of the Doctor, and is going to be an actress named Jodie Whittaker. I've never really heard of her until that announcement. I don't even know anything that she's in. I've never seen anything she was in, but I've read that she was in a show called Broadchurch, which is a show that David Tennant did after Doctor Who, and it's also a show that Chris Chibnall wrote for, so that's pretty cool. Again, this is the first female to ever take this role. Up till this point, the role has just been played by males, and when this hit the internet, a lot of people were talking about it. It's been speculated for years now, though, that this role would be played by a female. When Matt Smith was leaving, before Capaldi was announced, there were speculations that there would be the first female ever to play the role. This rumor has been going back since the 80s, basically, but we now officially have a female in the role, and a lot of people have given their opinions on it. And I think since I'm a fan, I haven't really spoken about it on camera. I think it's time now, since I'm talking about Doctor Who, since we're going to be going into a new season, doing the same thing that happened in 2010 by refreshing the show with new characters. What do I think of a female Doctor? And what do I think of just basically what I saw of her already? Because she's already made her appearance in the end of Twice Upon a Time. That's what happens in a regeneration episode. You usually see a glimpse of the Doctor, or the new Doctor, at the end of that episode when they die. I'm going to be very honest with this. I want to make it very clear, I'm excited for a female to take this role, but I'm having a hard time seeing Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor at this moment. I want to make that clear, at this moment, because all we've seen of her so far is she was born, she basically became herself after Capaldi changed into her, and then we saw the TARDIS basically explode from the regeneration, and she fell out of her TARDIS and it left her behind, and now she's falling through the sky. Don't know where she's going. which I should say is probably one of the best cliffhangers the show has had. One of the best. The show also has a lot of cool cliffhangers. But that is all we've seen of her so far. She won't be doing any action or have any epic lines until her season starts. So I'm waiting for her first episode of the new season to actually determine how I feel about her. I think the idea of a female doctor is great. I don't see why not, why they shouldn't do it. They've already proven in the show that Time Lords can regenerate into females before. But as for female doctor, as that goes, I am excited to see this new adventure, because this is definitely different. This is change. This is the biggest change the show has ever done. And I know there are a lot of people out there that do not like the idea of the Doctor being a female. When Matt Smith took the role, there was criticism that, oh, he's too young. When Capaldi took the role, it was, oh, he's too old. Now with Jodie, it's, oh, he is a she. Personally, I don't think a female playing the Doctor is going to change at all. Because, yes, she's a female, but you have to look at it this way. She outside is a female, but on the inside, it's still the same character that you saw in Capaldi, in Smith, in Tennant, in Eccleston, and so forth. So the Doctor is there. He's always been in the show. It's just how he looks. And I don't think Jodie being a woman is going to change anything. It may change a little, but with a character like the Doctor, not much has really changed. Only his personality, what he likes and dislikes, and the way he talks to people, that is really what changes. The overall image of the Doctor, like who he is as a person, that is what hasn't changed. And I think Jodie's going to do an amazing job. Again, we're going to see how she does when we get more of her, because we've only gotten about like 30 seconds of her, maybe about a minute. But I'm excited to see what she does, and I'm all for a female Doctor. I was always for a female Doctor, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm ready. On that note, I'm done talking because Doctor Who is... I'm tired. Now, that's what I think about Doctor Who. That's everything. I'm basically going to talk about it. Now I want to hear what you guys think. Are you a Doctor Who fan? Have you ever seen Doctor Who? Who is your favorite Doctor, and what's your favorite episode? What's your least favorite episode? Tell me anything you want about Doctor Who. Do you agree or disagree with anything that I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me a suggestion to whatever movie, TV show, or anything you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Reviewer. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing. Hey, that was a pretty long episode. Hope you didn't fall asleep. I like Doctor Who a lot. I'm sorry. Make sure you tune in next week because it's Star Wars time. I'm jumping from one fandom all the way to the other because I'm going to talk about the new Star Wars movie. And you best want to sit down for this one. I got a lot to say about this. Oh boy. This is going to be a fun one.
Wildlife.